Take a seat. Could you hear me?
Yeah, we heard you, but you need to do it again to say one thing.
Good morning. Can I ask everybody if they can please take a seat?
Foundation, he said the Zoom link should have not be up to date. He's going to follow up. So let me know when you get it. So I know you.
Can I ask everybody to please stand so we can say the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now I would ask the Reverend Steve Lopez to please come up for the invocation.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Let's pray. Holy and precious God, we ask for a blessing for all of us within this room, their families, and their businesses. We prayerfully ask that you continue to guide as we grow both in spirit and in our bounty. Please bless our storehouses that we may be able to bless others, and we ask you to continue to increase our faith in you and continue to love as you do by our actions and deeds. We thank you for your loving grace and your unending mercy and the hopes of your promises. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, if I can ask everybody to please take a seat, and I'm going to come around for introductions. My name is Maura Kiernan. I'm a relationship manager for Orange Bank and Trust. I'm also the chairwoman of the Yonkers Chamber. And I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow night we'll be having our Women of Excellence cocktail reception. So I hope to see a lot of you there tomorrow night. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Jerzy Lesniak. I represent Nowodworski Foundation. I am architect working in New York City. And here in Yonkers, we try to instill dancing. So we have dance classes. Right now, there is a break, but after summer, we invite everybody for dance classes. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. First time guest here. I'm with Star Auto Body, Mount Vernon, New York. It's a family business. 46 years going strong. Just recently took over the business. We do collision work, mechanic work, towing, anything to do with auto repairs. Thank you for having me. Mount Vernon.
Good morning.
Check, check.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gail Kagan. I'm with Ace Subpoena. We're your local attorney services company here in Yonkers. It's nice to meet everybody. Enjoy.
Good morning. Greg Arcaro with the Community Planning Council. We just celebrated 103 years in Yonkers. And thank you all for that wonderful support over the years. And also with the Rotary Club here in Yonkers, we just had a wonderful car show. And the thing that I think we liked about the car show at Cross County Shopping Center was we were able to raise money for high school students to pursue automotive college, something slightly different, and hopefully a response to a need. So, but thank you for that.
Thank you.
Good morning, Yonkers. Rich McSpadden, Business Representative, Local 3, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
Hi, I'm Jean Tickle with Rand Realty, and I'm also the chairperson for the Women in Business, and Maura already gave a little commercial for our cocktail party tomorrow night. But if you want to go, you can speak with Gina at the front desk. It starts at 5:30.
Hi, I'm Terry Dolan, and I also work at Rand Realty, and I'm first time here today, so thanks for having me too.
Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Frank Leggio from New Crystal Restorations. We provide services such as fire, water, mold, and asbestos remediation. We've been helping families and businesses for the last 65 years. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Carl Dowden, and I'm a transactional real estate attorney. So I can help people buy or sell their homes, as well as assist with commercial lease negotiations and commercial property owners buy, sell, or refinance their properties.
Good morning, everybody. Paul Ranieri, DC Ranieri Insurance. I'm the one who left these on your tables. If you take a look, you'll get a little history about our agency. Again, a family business. Great to hear about these family businesses here today. And we do property and casualty, personal and commercial lines. I'm third generation, and I think somebody here is from the fourth generation. So we'll pass that on.
Hi, my name is Pat Murphy. I'm the owner of New Logical Tech and Media Consulting. I consider myself a tech and media consultant. To quote Westchester Magazine, I thought this was really cute. He is as versatile and multi-talented as a Swiss Army knife to his clients, who know he could fix many of their problems at the drop of a hat. So I hope that's a good selling point. But other than that, I admin the Yonkers Chamber website, so if you're still interested in coming to tomorrow's Women of Excellence cocktail reception, the link should be reopened. If not, I'll reopen it before the meeting's over and you can register online.
Good morning, Lindsay Carden, Branch Manager, PCSB in Mount Vernon, New York. I am also a small business lender for loans up to $250,000. Strictly credit score, no financials are required. I also left some flyers on the desk here. We have promotions going on with CD rates and our money market rate as well. And just want to say it's nice to be back in Yonkers. We're the next town over, and don't let my location stop you from doing business with me. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Julianne Bailey. I'm the current bookkeeper at the Yonkers Chamber of Commerce, and also I offer bookkeeping service outside of the chamber and payroll, sales tax. In case you need that type of service, I'm here for you. Thank you.
Good morning. Abraham Hatter, Vice President of Sales with Old New York Title Agency.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Lori Shevland from Yonkers Partners in Education. We work with the Yonkers Public School District in partnership, but we are a nonprofit organization that helps Yonkers high school students prepare for, enroll in, and succeed in college.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Harrington. I'm with Elizabeth Seton Children's, which is actually 3 organizations that serve the most medically challenged children and young adults in New York State. We have a facility here in Yonkers and 2 in White Plains, but at those 3 different facilities, we serve over 4,000 families in New York.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Cacosa, counsel at First American Title Insurance Company. We handle residential and commercial title insurance, Yonkers, Westchester, New York State, and throughout the United States.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Howard Berman. I'm a partner in the law firm of Ferrato, Berman, Slater, and McCauley, and immediate past chairman of the chamber.
Good morning, Evan Walker, Graphite Metallizing, 110 years in Yonkers.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carl Ranieri. I'm the 4th generation that, I guess you forgot my name earlier, but DC Ranieri Insurance Agency. I'll just say there's a lot of insurance policies out there that provide discounts for different safeguards that you can put in your house. So if you think you do have anything like an automatic water shutoff, ask your agent if you have any discounts that may apply. Also, I recently went to the Hudson River Museum for the first time, and I don't see Rob here, but the new wing there is awesome. So anyone who has not been yet, I recommend stopping by.
Good morning. It's so nice to see so many small family-owned business that go on from different generations. My name is Marisol Alcantara, and I own a consulting firm.
Hi, good morning. My name is Patricia Ricardo, and I own a marketing and advertising firm.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Cannell from the City of Yonkers Planning and Development Department, and also a member of the Women in Business.
Hi, good morning. Chris Dominguez. I'm the Ridge Hill Security Director.
Chuck Lesnick. I'm a lawyer and property manager and former city council president. And as I was talking to Kevin earlier, I was council president and cast the decisive vote in 2006 to approve the Ridge Hill project and served long enough to be there for the ribbon cutting in 2011 when they opened.
Good morning. My name is Monica Paez, and I present a business that is very new. We just launched right after COVID with my husband, and it's gluten-free bakery called Free by Free Kitchen. In the last 2 years, we traveled about 9 farmers market locations, and we discovered that there's a huge need for gluten-free among very diverse age groups. We today sell to all age groups, but also to celiac patients and a very fast-growing group of gluten-free affected people. And I'm here because we are in need of bakery space.
Hi, I'm Vicki Smith from PS&S. We're an architecture and engineering firm.
I'm Bill Schneider, also PS&S Architecture and Engineering. We're located at 1 Larkin Plaza in downtown Yonkers. If you have any development questions or projects you'd like to discuss, please come see us. We're experts in the city. And if you have any young people that are in college, want to be an architect or an engineer, we do hire interns. If you have high school students that are interested in engineering architecture as a career, I'd be happy to speak with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give everybody a hand.
And let's give Maura a hand for a great job that she does. You know, this breakfast was originally scheduled in February, and I forget why. I mean, it was the weather knocked us out. I can only go back to the original. Angelo Martinelli was with us for so many years, and the first dinner we had scheduled was going at 3:30 in the afternoon. I left the office. This was the first dinner that we had since Angelo had passed away. And we had an ice storm that locked the world. It took me 2.5 hours to get to my house. I had to call and cancel the dinner or postpone it from the car. I was on the Sawmill Parkway in a parking lot. So I always said that was the curse of Angelo. Since then, we had this breakfast postponed. We had, I don't know what you call that smoke-ageddon that we had a couple of weeks ago. Maura called me at 1 o'clock and it was smoky, and she said, what do you think? Because we were going to have our women in business here, both inside and outside. And I said, well, you know, it's going to blow over. I mean, this can't be. By 2:30, we had more than half the guests that called and said, we're not coming. And it looked like Armageddon out there. So it was just, what do you do? So we canceled and we got it going tomorrow night, and we sincerely hope you come tomorrow night. But it's Angelo. He's still up there looking down at us, just making life, he made life difficult while he was here, and he continues. John Acciavetti, thank you so much for the many years. John ran our golf outing for many, many years. Yonkers Contracting, of course, is one of the largest businesses in Yonkers, a very important member of our chamber, and they've always been very supportive, so we thank them. I see Councilmember Moranti is here, and I believe he's also a candidate for mayor. Thank you for coming, Councilmember. Veneruso, Curto, Schwartz, and Curto LLP. They've been very supportive over the years of us. It's been run by Jim Veneruso, I believe, is the managing partner. I go back a long time with Jim. I don't want to say I go back so far because I feel like time keeps going by. But I've known Jim probably close to 40 years. And I'm very grateful. They've got a great program. I'll let them introduce it to you. They're going to be talking about Ridge Hill, but let's give Jim a warm welcome.
Can you put that up there? As Kevin mentioned, we go back a long way. In fact, Kevin's father, Judge Cacase, was the presiding judge of the city of Yonkers for many years. Wonderful man, great jurist. His sister today is a Supreme Court judge, and the family has given quite a bit of their time, effort to this community and throughout Westchester. So Kevin, I want to thank you and thank your family for its service. Ridge Hill. All of us know the history of Ridge Hill and what's gone on in the past. Today we're going to talk about the future. And the person who's going to make the presentation is Kevin Polston. Kevin is a graduate of the University of Georgia and Cornell Law School. He began his career as an attorney. His bio says he then transitioned into management, project management, development. I like to think of it as that he saw the light. He saw where his passion laid, and he's been over a period of time. That transition has led him to North American Properties, where he is in charge of development of large-scale mixed-use development projects. He joined North American Properties in 2017 as a project executive. He also, in Sayreville, New Jersey, there was a contaminated 400-acre site. Kevin oversaw the development of that site, and the expenditure was $2.5 billion. It's a very successful mixed-use property. And what Kevin's talent really lies in not just creating and developing these types of projects, but turning into a community. So Ridge Hill was ideal for him to be assigned to. That was the original concept of Ridge Hill. And I believe that under his leadership and what you're going to see today, that dream is becoming more and more reality under his leadership. So everyone, I'd like to introduce you to Kevin Polston.
Thank you, Jim. And thank you, Maura and Kevin. And thank you, everyone at the Chamber this morning for having me join you, share some of our thoughts about Ridge Hill. So just to clarify, the redevelopment project in New Jersey that we're working isn't complete yet. It's actually just getting started. We've completed the remediation and site work, and I've spent the last 6 years. The project has been in redevelopment for 15. But we do bring experience with actual operating communities around the country. I classify myself as a recovering attorney, not necessarily a transitioned attorney. I spent about 4 years actually practicing law before getting into the business side of real estate. I'm not from around here, as they say. So I did grow up in Georgia. We were scheduled to have this in February, And Jim reached out to me, I guess that was a Monday afternoon, and there was a forecast of a couple of inches of snow, and I looked out the window and there was no snow, and he said, they're thinking about canceling the meeting. I'm like, well, it's like, does the snow scare people up in New York? I didn't realize that was part of the issue up here. I know in Georgia we can't move it once it falls, so we are scared of it. But I'm happy to be here this morning, and thank you so much for having me. We will talk about the future, but against the advice of counsel, we'll start with the history of Ridge Hill. And I'll actually, Chuck, I think I'll give you the microphone and let you share a little of the history of Ridge Hill. I don't want to presume to come into Yonkers, New York, and tell you all about the history of your city or the history of this project. I can give you a little bit of perspective on kind of what we saw as we came in as a company a few years ago when the project was for sale, and what we learned about the project and how it frames what we're planning to do going forward. As most of you know, Alexander Smith Cochran, an industrialist, philanthropist, and an avid sailor, heavily involved in the America's Cup, was the founding patron of the Sprain Ridge Hospital, which was built on Ridge Hill. And on the upper left is a plaque that is on site commemorating his contributions to the community. As part of the Sprain Ridge Hospital, this Otis Inclined Railway was I had never seen photos of this. I did some research and found these historical records. An inclined railway going up the hill to connect administration buildings on the bottom of the hill with the infirmary at the top of the hill. And it was obviously Otis elevator was a very important part of the Yonkers industrial development in the 1800s. And so this was quite the unusual way to move people up a hill when it was installed in the early 1900s. Pardon me. So after decades of sitting vacant, the hospital had fallen into disrepair. The site at Ridge Hill was no longer active, and the IDA initiated redevelopment activity on the site in the year 2000. This is a little bit of the timeline of the modern history of Ridge Hill. In 2005, the council adopted a resolution contemplating the creation of a planned multi-use development on the hill. And as Chuck confirmed for me this morning, the planning board approved the Ridge Hill site plan and affordable housing plan in 2006. In 2007, Forest City Ratner, the developer, broke ground. A few things in this timeline that jump out to me. So 2007, groundbreaking. What happened next? 2008, the market crashed. The economy went into tailspin. Being in the real estate development business at the time, I can tell you the world shut down. Literally, all of my friends, they were losing their jobs, and it was just a very bad time to be in real estate development. So the project opening was delayed from originally scheduled for 2009. It was delayed to 2011. And during that time, some of the original concepts that were incorporated into the site plan and the program for the project were changed to bring the project out of the ground. There were maybe some compromises made, I would say, from the original plan. The project opened in 2011. Forest City Ratner still owned the project at that time. In 2016, Forest City Ratner brought in a majority partner, Queensland Investment Corporation. Queensland QIC, as they're called, Australian-based company. They were making an entree into the United States market as well as the UK at the time. And so they bought a big stake in Ridge Hill. And the next year they converted that stake to full ownership. That was in 2017. So one more thing in the timeline. So 2017, they buy this property. They kind of bring their plans for the moving the project forward. In fact, I've seen some pretty interesting master planning exercises they went through in 2018. And March of 2020, what happens? Two things. COVID, March of 2020, and in 2020, Lord and Taylor filed Chapter 11 with the plan of reorganization, ultimately closed all of their stores. So this confluence of events, the economy, the impacts of COVID on the economy, particularly the retail and restaurant and all of the gathering and commerce that happens at bricks and mortar, and the closure of the prime anchor in the middle of the project really threw the project into somewhat of a tailspin economically. And it was not isolated, obviously to Ridge Hill. This was going on all over the country. In 2021, QIC determined that it was going to exit the U.S. market, and it put Ridge Hill on the market for sale. In May of 2022, it's just been, I guess that's 13 months, a venture formed with three primary sponsors: Nuveen Real Estate, a large institutional investment management company; Taconic Partners, a development company out of New York City; and North American Properties, my employer, we're out of Atlanta, formed a venture to acquire Ridge Hill. What we saw in Ridge Hill was an opportunity in a very well-established market. We love Yonkers. We love what Yonkers represents. The location on the thruway, embedded development opportunities that had not been maximized, and the opportunity to reposition some of the spaces in the project. It really was an attractive acquisition for the venture. We're an Atlanta-based company. We're not a small business. I would say we're a medium business. We have about 250 employees, but we are really a boutique real estate company. The reason we were brought in, we have actually partnership with Nuveen in 2 other properties in other places in the country. And they asked us to be part of this venture in order to bring our brand of management and operation and redevelopment of projects. So our focus as a real estate company, we really have a hospitality backbone. So our operations management and marketing teams are run probably more like a hotel than as a typical property management company. The head of our property management group was a lifelong Four Seasons employee before she joined our company. Our training program is based on the Ritz-Carlton training management program. So, and our philosophy is based on, well, first of all, our portfolio. So we're based on the eastern seaboard. We're Yonkers to the north, Naples, Florida to the south. I'm based in New Jersey, as Jim mentioned. I've been here for 6 years, working on Riverton. When we have projects in Cincinnati, our primary concentration of properties is in the Atlanta market. And what we are known for in the industry is designing and delivering programmable public spaces and programming those spaces to bring the community into the project and to develop connections between the community and the businesses within the project. We want the community to feel ownership and partnership with our properties. We don't have customers, we have guests. And we invite all of our guests to come join us at the property. What we found is that when we can increase the dwell time and increase the repeat visits, the businesses do better. When the businesses do better, they can pay more rent. When they can pay more rent, the properties are more valuable. When the properties are more valuable and the sales are higher, we have better demand for leasing. This isn't something that happens overnight. So for a redevelopment project like this, it will take some time for us to lay the groundwork for these things to occur. But we've done this in new development projects from the ground up, and we've also done it in redevelopment projects. Urban redevelopment, Colony Square in the Atlanta market, that's a photo on the left from Colony Square. High-rise office in the Midtown Atlanta market. It was an old enclosed subterranean mall with high-rise buildings actually built in 1970 when urban buildings were built with monolithic ground floors that closed themselves off to the street. And so we opened up this project and invited the community into our living room. Birkdale Village is the picture on the upper right, more suburban project in the Charlotte market. But the same thing, we came in and we enhanced the public areas, programmed those areas to bring to invite the community in, and Each of these has delivered a successful platform that we believe we replicate in other places. There's some other events. So ice skating in the winter. This is in the Atlanta market, more of a novelty in Atlanta than I know that it is here in New York. The upper right is closing off the streets for a fashion show benefiting childhood cancer patients. Lower left is a close off the streets for a fundraising gala for dinner. So we try to utilize the open common areas as much as possible. So how does this translate to Ridge Hill? And I'm sorry, Kevin, I apologize if I'm blocking you from view. Our strategy for approaching Ridge Hill, our first objective is to enhance the community gathering spaces. And I'll get into some specifics in a minute, and to enhance the event programming. We also want to enhance the pedestrian experience. You know, I've been here, it's been about a year and a half. I've been here long enough to know Yonkers drivers are Yonkers drivers. And sometimes they make up their own rules. And that's fine as long as you don't run over a pedestrian. But we do, when I first visited the property, I felt there were places that as a pedestrian, I didn't feel all that safe. I felt like the drivers really didn't pay much attention in some cases. And so we really want to focus on, when you're inside the project, we want the pedestrian to be primary. We want the cars we want the drivers to get the physical signals that they're in pedestrian territory. So that's part of our program. Obviously, we want to activate the vacant Lord and Taylor building. It sits right in the middle of the project. It sits right on Town Square. We have to do something about that. That is a priority. We want to introduce new uses. It's great that we have the residential across the street, the Monarch project across the street, but it's across the street. It doesn't bring energy to the center of our project. It brings guests from across the street. In fact, we've really worked to bring those folks up more frequently. We added a dog park on our property, which is primarily focused on our neighbors, right? Bringing our neighbors in. We don't have a whole lot of dogs on site ourselves. So office, hotel, residential, we think all of those have some place at Ridge Hill over time. We want to expand the food and beverage offering. We think there's a real opportunity there. Food and beverage, everyone thinks retail is dead. And certainly, if you want to buy a pair of shoes or a hat, you can buy that online. And you can also order food online. But the experience, we have this anthropological need to be together, right? To commune, thus the term community. To be with our friends, to be with even not our friends, just to be around other people. To be alone together, right? In that third space, it's not your home and it's not where you work, but it's where you're out in the public. So the food and beverage category offers a real opportunity for us to take advantage of upward trends in retail, as opposed to some of the downward trends on apparel and soft goods and home furnishings that you may be able to obtain through other supply chains. And then along that same line, more entertainment and more recreation are also very important to the merchandising at Ridge Hill. Hapik opened last year and is doing very well. Rock and Jump, or Sky Zone as it will be called, they're expanding right now. We've just signed a lease amendment to expand their premises. Legoland, I'll just go down the list, the cinema, all of these things that we go out and we want to have experience out in the world. So those are the planks in our platform of redeveloping the project. So, first priority, and I'll defer to council if I get any of this wrong, just tap me on the shoulder, Steve, so that I can correct myself. But the first thing we focused on was getting through the planning board process for some site plan modifications to enhance the public areas of the project. And we focused on the area between Archer, and on the right side of the upper aerial is Archer Street, and on the left side is the theater building. And so we focused on the area of Market Street between Archer and Building A, or the cinema building. we obtained a planning board approval in May for these improvements, for these site plan modifications, and we're currently out in the construction drawing process, pricing, and we look to start construction later this year. So the components of this, the Town Square Plaza, I would say this is the most fundamental area of change for us. The space, the green space between the two restaurant buildings is very small. As you can see from the photo of a movie night on the upper left, it doesn't take a whole lot of people to fill that space up. And you have roads on both sides and buildings on the two sides, and so it's really just landlocked. And so our plan involves closing 2nd Street to vehicular traffic. 2nd Street being here, so that we can then extend the Village Green to the east and more than double the size of the gathering space there. This road carries very few cars today. It's a private street, and so from a vehicular standpoint, it's almost a non-factor. But this will enable us to have a gathering place in the center of the project that can handle the crowds that we want to bring into our events. The movie nights got so popular, management moved them to the lawn, the great lawn on the south end of the project, near Whole Foods and Lowe's, which is great. It's great to bring people up there for an event, but there's no energy shared with the businesses in that location. So one component of this, in the upper right part of this plan, we have a little pickup drop-off area. We really want to focus on this central area of the project not being a parking area. Pickup, drop-off only. Keep it moving. We don't want people parked. We don't want people double parked. We want to have this for an area where transient movement happens. We also want the pedestrians to feel safe. So this is an enlargement, just going back. So on the lower part of this, the crossing of Market Street, on the upper left part of this screen, that's the crosswalk to Market Street. The image that you see here, and I want to point out, we've taken a little liberty. This building right here, over the LA Fitness building, does not exist. That's an idea. So just to know that we haven't built anything on top of that building yet. So the idea is that when walking from the LA Fitness building to the Lord and Taylor building, the pedestrian will never step down to the street. Cars will move up to the curb level, will ramp up. There'll be a different material there. It won't be asphalt. It'll be something that gives the car the signal, like a cobblestone would, that hey, you need to slow down. You're in a slow zone. The North Plaza, the other gathering area. This is a beautiful fountain. It's a very expensive fountain. It was designed by one of the most highly regarded fountain design companies in the country. It also doesn't work very well anymore. The natural gas components, the fire components haven't worked for years. Replacement parts are hard to find. It's basically reached the end of its useful life. It's functionally obsolete, and it takes up, as you can see in the aerial to the left, it takes up a very large portion of that plaza. And in fact, if you see the picture on the right, when we have music down there, we close the street and turn the music out to the street rather than gathering in the plaza because there's no place to gather. So our plan for this plaza is to soften it up. And you can tell these are just working drawings. We are taking the planning board approval from last month and figuring out exactly how to break this space into rooms that make sense when the project is busy, so that if we have an event, we can put 150 people in this area, or if it's not an event time, each of these little vignettes or rooms within the plaza functions for people. It could be an activity zone for families. It can be a fire pit in the winter. It could be that we'll have that you see the trellis in the background on the upper left. That will be where performances can happen, with a kind of a slightly sloped green in the front where you can have your blankets, seating area behind. So just rethinking how to use this plaza, this great resource, with all of the activity around it. And in fact, we just opened a new restaurant, Casa Fuego. John Racanelli's restaurant opened about 10 days ago in the old Havana Central space, and we just signed a lease for Cantina that was kind of snuck out earlier this week. The announcement kind of was snuck out to replace Lefteris Greek that closed at the end of last year. So fully leased area around this plaza. We think this is going to be a real game changer for our project. So what does the future hold? So I'm going to stop here and say, this is what we have approved so far. Just anything that I show you from here is just ideas, right? Thinking about what does the future look like. We haven't been before the city on any of these ideas, but we have kind of been thinking. Lord and Taylor building. The original plan for Ridge Hill called for residential around that town square plaza, and I think that's an area where compromises were made because of the economy. And so this is an expensive plan, so we don't know if we can do it, and we have to go back to the city to tweak some approvals, but we'd like to bring residential back to the Lord and Taylor site. So what you see on the right side is a preliminary design concept for opening up the Lord and Taylor building to activate it with smaller retailers, smaller restaurants, entertainment concepts. We have a lot of activity on that building right now with this concept in mind. And so this is one idea for the future. This is a rendering of what that building would look like from the plaza. Once again, just a nugget at this point. Anybody recognize this? In fact, I know Chuck can tell us what this is. No, this is the LA Fitness building. This was the original design. What you see in the ground plane is what you see if you go out there today. So what this says right here, phase 1 retail, phase 2 residential. This building was not just designed, but was built for a 16-story apartment building to go on top of it. The structure exists there today. The columns are in to support that residential format. Unfortunately, the basement where the parking was to occur for the residential was converted for LA Fitness basketball court, pool, and that wasn't a bad decision. I'm not saying that was the wrong decision, because LA Fitness is a great tenant and brings a lot of people up the hill. It's awesome, but it was somewhat of a point of no return when that decision was made. And I think we can build something over that building. I don't think it's residential. I think it's just too intensive a use for that location. But we studied what else might we do there. We could build an office building. I'm not going to say we're going to go out and build an 8-story office building in today's market, but we're not thinking about necessarily just today. We're looking at the next 20, 25 years of Ridge Hill and what can this project be over time. This could be a hotel rather than an office building. Slight change in footprint, but similar concept. Might be a pickleball facility. I'm shocked how much I've heard pickleball in the last 12 months. We have our annual shopping center convention in Las Vegas in May, and what's the drinking game? Every time somebody says the word, you have to take a shot. If anybody had pickleball on their list, they would be pretty blasted by the end of that conference, because it was the talk of the conference. And I can tell you, talking to the people that live in this market, we have a lot of people within our ownership group who live in this market. We got to find a way to put pickleball at Ridge Hill. So these are just kind of what I would call blue sky, open thinking concepts that we've looked at for Ridge Hill. So, I know we're bumping up on time. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but that's the end of my prepared remarks, to the extent that they were prepared, but happy to answer any questions about anything other than paid parking. Any questions you may have. Yes. It's right around 80%, just under 80%. It depends on how you kind of run the numbers. There's basement space, there's upper level space. In fact, upper level space, we didn't really talk about that much, but second level retail space is really not all that viable. There's very little market for that today, and there was a lot of space designed for for retail on the second level here. Some of it's never been built out, literally never been built out, never occupied. And so we really want to look at the opportunity to put office in that second level space. And in fact, we're working on a co-working deal right now for a second level of space across from West Med that would require some changes to the zoning to accommodate office in that location. But that's a great question. Thank you. And as I mentioned, Left Terrace went out. We have a new restaurant coming in. We've just backfilled the Havana Central. So there's a letter of intent for the REI space. We have, there are things out there right now, and a lot of what we're working on, people who know us, kudos to our leasing team. We have, pound for pound, one of the best leasing teams in the business. I will tell you, they are great. And they have relationships all over the country. They bring credibility to all their conversations. And if I listed the names of the retailers that they're talking to, you all would be very excited. But most of those conversations have an asterisk. Okay, guys, go prove up. Go show us what you're going to do. Tell us the timing. Give us a predictable path, and we'll make our commitment. So we anticipate that occupancy going higher, much higher over the next 2 years. Anyone else? Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your time this morning.
There we go. Thank you, Kevin. I mean, a lot to look forward to at Ridge Hill. Just a little bit of history on it. We went from Otis Elevator, but it originally, after Otis Elevator, it became a Bates Hospital, which was for drug addicts. It was run by New York State. And personally, my father was an attorney at the time. He represented the state. And my uncle at the time was the head of something known as the Peanuts Citizens Committee, and we were campaigning against the project. So that was the early 60s. After that, Angelo Martinelli brought in Loral. They were there for years, and then it became Ridge Hill. But it's an interesting piece. We had actually looked at it. I had a group that looked at it that wanted to think about putting in energy generation there, considering it part of being within the confines of New York City. They were going to put gas turbines in to feed into the New York City grid. Never went anywhere, but a lot of different things. Very interesting. We're very thankful for Kevin's presentation. We look forward to seeing Ridge Hill progress. The parking is an issue. You can not want to talk about it, but that's the first thing people hear about. Yes, Marisol. Yeah.
We installed 7 or 8 cash machines, change machines around the Or you want an arm thing? You want to put our ticket in, or you just want to pay when we exit? We're actually looking at an optional version of that right now. I will tell you that knowing that this was coming up today, probably, I asked our parking management company, so what should I tell folks? One piece of advice: text to park. When you text to park and you enroll, it automatically remembers you every time you come back. Take the 4 minutes at once to input your information, and it will remember you, and it will make it very easy to then go in and pay for your parking on return visits. If you use the QR code and go in as a guest, you have to do that each time. So that's the one piece of advice I'll give, just from a customer, guest experience standpoint. But thank you for your feedback. I do appreciate it. Sure, Chuck. You're going to talk about the history of Rich Hill.
I think you did a great job with the history, and Kevin supplanting it with Laurel is also very good. Two of the reasons why the council approved the project, and I'm wondering if you have any updated numbers on this, was how many jobs were you going to create? How many did you actually create? And in terms of the tax revenue, you have 3 or 4 sources of revenue. One is the sales tax revenue. The other is the income tax for the people that are actually living in the housing. I was wondering, I think the number at the time was something between $11 and $25 million a year that Rich Hill was going to generate for the city of Yonkers. How much have you done?
Chuck, that's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't have those metrics. I can't recite them off the top of my head. I know we have looked at employment numbers, and without talking about the numbers specifically, because it's been several months, I know that there were numbers in the original projections that we are not at today, which makes sense.
Kevin? Patrick?